Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On There Some Off the Cuff. Today we have a really cool strap review for you from the brand Vario. They're a Singapore-based micro brand, and essentially they not only make watches but they also make accessories. And these straps today I'm going to be highlighting are part of their Cordura collection. Currently they do have the Cordura single pass Zulu straps available. And what you see as far as the two-piece straps go are actually still up and coming. So these are the prototype straps, and they will actually be limited releases coming very soon. So definitely check the links in the description below for the latest updates. Now, as far as the watches that I am featuring here, of course, on the blue single, the one-piece strap there is the classic Stoa Flieger, or Stova Flieger, if you really want to get fancy and German with it. And then next to it, you have the Boulder Venture Automatic. I think these are two great examples of watches that really do suit these straps really well. That Cordura aesthetic of that kind of go anywhere, do anything, very tool vibe, of course, I think are personified when it comes to pilots' watches and field watches. And both of these watches are, I think, on other sides of the spectrum though, because of course the Stoa is quite classic and you know, timeless, while the Boulder is quite contemporary and a new take on a very classic you know, formula. So with all that said, let's go ahead and take a closer look. Okay, so what we'll do is we will start with the one piece, which is currently available. This is actually known as their navy blue, of course, really beautifully done. And what a real interesting feature here is that you do have the black reverse on there, and then the really nicely done little hole protectors, which I think is really great. And the nice thing is that actually the finish on there is kind of it's kind of in between a real brush and a satin, so it actually goes well with both bead blast, I think, as well as brushed finishes. So really nice from that standpoint. A little bit about these straps. They're known as the Cordura single pass Zulu strap. These actually go for $32, but you do get an increasing discount basically for volume based on the more you buy. So if you buy 2 of these, you essentially will get 10% off. If you buy 3, you get 15% off. If you buy 4, you get 20% off, which is pretty great, I think. Of course, these are made out of genuine Cordura fabric, and then they are lined with cotton, which is quite breathable. They're lightweight and comfortable against the skin, and they're available in 20, 22, and 24 millimeter widths. You're gonna see the espresso brown and the navy blue here in today's video, but they also do have other colors available, like black, or coal black as they call it, olive green, vintage army green, and then khaki brown are also available. So let's go ahead and get this on the wrist here so you guys can see how this rides. One of the nice things is of course, with any type of kind of the Zulu hardware, is you do get that nice ability to kind of do a mild adjustment there. It's a bit of a micro adjust because you can have them lay this way, lay that way, and essentially depending on how much slack you have will depend on how much that's going to be tucked in. For me, this actually catches that tip absolutely perfectly, as you can see, tucked away super nice, and you know, it looks really clean on the wrist. And then if you guys know Cordura, it is quite thick. And really just super durable. The nice thing is this is actually pretty thin. It actually runs through here pretty easily. The issue is with these studs on here, essentially for the hole protectors, you're not gonna be able to just run it through. You're just gonna have to basically take it apart and then put them through. The nice thing is, although it's not quite as easy and clean of a setup, it's going to give you the security of any one-piece strap, meaning that if a spring bar fails, the strap is still on your hand and the other spring bar is still secured to the strap, so it won't fall off, which is really nice, and something that a lot of people, a lot of purists, you know, that's their thing. If they're going to wear a nylon strap, it should be have that double security there from the one-piece design. Go ahead and get it a little lower. So you guys, everybody knows about you know, the Flieger watch, essentially the German, in my face, the very famous German pilot's watch. So I think obviously the proportions go really well here. It's meant to be a larger dialed watch. This isn't a huge one. This is only 40 millimeters, but the proportions obviously will vary. So if you have something larger with 22 millimeters or 24 millimeter lug width, with a larger size, it'll pay the same type of proportion. And I think it's really just a handsome look, and everything flows super nicely. The blue on here is super dark. It might even be brightened up a bit by the camera, but in person it is very dark, and it almost is black, in certain lights, and then it just picks up kind of the blue as a highlight. Now to kind of take a look at the strap itself with nothing mounted to it, as you can see, really nice here, very nicely finished, very even, the stitching all around the side, very symmetrical, nothing loose or anything like that. The hardware, quite sturdy, everything of course sewn in there. The only thing that isn't big and milled is going to be this little guy right here, which isn't a big deal, because that ends up being the case, honestly, because if you had something solid, there'd be really no way for you to combine it with the solid ring. So I'd rather have the solid ring and then this little guy be a pressed piece. So really, really nice. This color is actually really really beautiful. I think it really can add a bit of class with that espresso brown color. You could put it on something a little bit dressier, and although the hardware is quite, I'd say a little bit loud compared to your typical NATO, I think the color palette really helps soften it and really bring the tone down. So I could easily see this on more of an everyday watch with this espresso color and being quite versatile. Now for the two-piece here, as you can see, we have it featured on this beautiful little boulder. This is actually my son's. I purchased this for him after I really enjoyed my review of the blue dial variant. I thought this thing is just really nice. I love the size. I love that it's light. It's something that, could be his first automatic watch that I don't really have to worry about. One, because it's not breaking the bank, and two, because it's actually quite durable and water resistant. So this is really a kind of go anywhere, do anything vibe. And I think what you get here when you add this beautiful two-piece strap is you really dial into that military look. Of course, it's a field watch, so those Arabic numerals are going to give you a very much a military vibe. But when you add this, it just adds it gives it a more traditional feel to it. And I think obviously it adds some texture and the different color with this nice khaki here. These are actually, they're two-piece Cordura leather. This is actually the oiled leather quick release straps, which is nice. So these are going to be really simple to take on and off. So whenever I want to steal his watch, I can just use the quick release straps and put these on and off. And then I can totally wear it for myself, which is really great. And they're going to also be available in the same widths from 20 millimeters to 22 to 24. And then of course these are non-tapering as you would expect. And I think it actually is quite a good look with the really squared off shape of the case here. Let's actually get this on wrist. We'll take this off. We'll let you get a little demo of how easily this comes off really nicely. And I do love that two-tone finish. It just adds a little extra touch of class there. And as you can see, the blue and the black, this thing really flows really well with that classic Stoa Flieger. Now, let's get this on here. And one of the things that I think, for me anyway, was something to consider, and which is why I wear my personal blue version of the Venture on a one-piece strap most of the time. Or now actually in Erica's Originals, which I guess you could consider like a multi-piece strap. Although it's a single loop. But one of the things that I consider is, because of the shape and how petite the case actually is and how short these lugs are, is that it felt a bit small on my wrist. But I think you guys would agree that if you look at it on my wrist now, it doesn't appear too small at all. And a lot of that is because of the non-tapering nature. So if you have a larger wrist and you think that this watch is just going to wear too small for you, I think this is something to definitely look at. You know, the non-tapering design where it comes down here, it just gives it a little bit more visual weight, a little bit more visual presence. And although it's a two-strap setup, you do get that hardware which tends to extend the length visually, right? You don't want it to extend the case and have it feel like it's too large for your wrist. Even when you get up close, you know, it makes it seem a little bit bigger. But then you get down here, away from kind of that lens distortion, you can see the strap. It really extends, and it extends the lines of the watch. And I think it looks really, really great. As you can see, I get a little bit more of my arm in there, and it's really quite a handsome piece. I love the vibe here. It definitely the Cordura matched with this beautifully oiled leather, which of course kind of has a bit of patina on it. It's wearing, but you know, it's going to pick up its own personality the more and more that you wear it, right? The more you get your own little oils on there. So I think obviously with this white dial, the nice thing is this color palette really brings out some of the creamier tones and textures, and I think tie in really, really well, of course, to the yellowed loom that's on here, which is more so a contrast versus the patina loom. Some yellowish looms, I think people kind of just automatically think, oh, well, that's faux patina. No, I mean, in this case, this is not trying to look like aged vintage loom. It's just needing to have more contrast over white, so it's yellow, right? Just like you can have a blue loom, even in daylight, not just the way that it's going to glow. You can have different colored looms that are going to play really well with the dial, and I think in this case this plays really well as kind of a mustardy yellow tone without looking like a faux patina. But of course then you get into the strap, and I think you could even say it gives you the same kind of benefits as a faux patina in just the way that its color matches and color plays with the strap, and I think it's really beautiful. Now I'm really digging the black combination as well. Of course, this is going to be the more versatile choice versus the khaki. This is the coal black versus the khaki brown. You can definitely throw this on a black dial or a brown dial or a green dial, and it's going to look absolutely fantastic. Even on the white, you can see it would look really tactical as well. And then you take a look here, and it's definitely, you know, more of the same when it comes to the beautiful fit and finish here. Everything's finished really well. You have the Cordura on one side, and then you have the cotton on the other side. So you're going to get a lot of comfort sometimes with these Cordura straps. The backing, obviously, if you go full Cordura, this isn't the greatest feeling to have on the back of your skin there. Or you do leather, which can add a lot of, I guess, rigidity and kind of some stiffness, I feel like, and thickness. The nice thing is, look how thin that is, guys. If I can get it to focus there. Super thin, as you can see. And this thing does, you know, it runs through here just to prove it to you guys. Look at that. Goes there really quite easily. And of course, because it's Cordura, it is quite tough, and you wouldn't expect any of this to fray anytime soon, but it is going to be these here. So basically you flip it over on its back, you just wrap that down, install, and then it's on. But then when it comes to adjusting it, you can just slide it up and down to your preference. So really beautiful in that case. And then again, you do have these nice quick release triggers here, which is really helpful, and I think it's something that I'm really surprised that more OEMs don't do this. There's a lot of aftermarket strap places. Pretty much that's like the standard now for an aftermarket strap, but I feel like there's so many watches that should just come equipped with those types of spring bars. But who knows, maybe it just adds just a little bit too much overhead for the price point for a lot of the watches that I'm looking at. But guys, I'm really, really digging this look, loving it. I think the flow, of course, the shape, the more squared off nature with the non-tapering really looks good, and it does. Again, it really extends the lines of the case, and it just flows. And although, of course, this is titanium that has a very matted blast, bead blast style finish there, the strap itself is also quite matte. It's not, I mean, of course, if you put them right next to each other, you might say, oh yeah, well, that's not a perfect match, because these are actually more of a, kind of, there's a brushing on them, but then there's a satin kind of finish to them to where it's a little bit rougher than like a very, you know, your typical type of brushing, which is going to read much cleaner as a brush. Here you're going to get something I think that is a little bit in between that I think really wears well with here. Of course, if this was going to be like a bright reflective kind of chrome look to it, high polished, then that wouldn't flow at all. But I think here was a beautiful choice to have this. It would have been nice if they would have actually had a sandblasted, bead blasted type finish, ultra matte. But you know what, I think obviously this is kind of the right choice because it's just ultimately going to be more versatile, and you actually do get a nice signed clasp, if you see there. I should say buckle, not clasp. So you do get the Vario signature on there, which is a nice touch. And it's, you know, of course, more of the same for the one piece. This one piece is really nice. I'm really quite surprised with just how pliable it is. It's actually really, really comfortable. This is probably one of the more comfortable Cordura straps I felt, because typically Cordura straps are quite padded and quite stiff, especially in this upper area, but here it's basically thin all the way through. Here you're gonna only really get the bolstering up top, which is pretty much where you would need it, because it's gonna help sit your watch and seat it on your wrist on the top, and then you're gonna want it, of course, to be much more pliable underneath, which is where most straps would taper to a thinner you know, a thinner end here, but it's pretty much thin all the way through. So guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like the video, you know what, let's just look at this guy. Let's just close it on that. Wow, I'm loving this. If you like the video, please do a like, and if you're not new, please subscribe for more content just like this. Definitely let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks guys.